Hey guys, how's it going? It's Hunter with You Don't Know Ball, and today we're going to be talking about the Bears' new coaching hires. If you don't know ball and you want to know ball, be sure to subscribe, leave a comment who's been your favorite hire by the Bears, and leave a like. Don't forget, everything helps. We're growing the channel every day, bringing you guys daily content, so let's get right into it. So just to start off the video, I'm going to show you a tweet that kind of just lists out the new hires. So Shane Waldron, he's the new OC. Kerry Joseph is the new quarterback coach. Chad Morton is the new running back coach. So running game coordinator has not been assigned yet. This may be Chris Morgan. They might not hire somebody separately to be the run game coordinator. Chris Morgan and Jim Dre are here from the last coaching staff, but then they hired wide receiver coach Chris Betty and passing games coordinator Thomas Brown. So Thomas Brown, Chad Morton are the newest hires for the Bears. But let's start off with Shane Waldron. I already did a video on why Shane Waldron was probably the perfect offensive coordinator that they could have hired, just based on the circumstances of having a head coach already, and the weird circumstances of Pete Carroll being moved upstairs, and the fact that Shane Waldron probably would have been offered like head coaching positions next year, if things went well for Seattle again, and Pete Carroll, didn't leave. So very fortunate for the Bears to be able to get him. So let's just go over him quickly because I already did a video. I will link in the description if you want to watch that video. It's a full breakdown of kind of his stats, where he's came from versus Luke Getsy. But okay, Shane Waldron, he was started out at Notre Dame. He was with the New England Patriots, and this is his coaching career. So as an executive, starting in 2002, he actually was a executive for the Patriots. He was an operations intern and then an operations assistant going from 2002 to 2004, and actually won 2 Super Bowls within that time frame. But his coaching career started at Notre Dame in 2005, then went on to the Patriots, quality control coach, tight ends coach, went on to coach a series of teams in the New England area, and then got another NFL job with the Commanders in 2016. Was with the Rams and McVay, starting in 2017. Was a tight ends coach, moving up to passing games coordinator, quarterback coach. And then was the offensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks in 2021. So that was his first offensive coordinator gig, at the NFL level. And then obviously he is now the Bears offensive coordinator. So just to give you guys a quick little look at where his teams ranked for Seattle. So going by year, mind you, 2021, I believe it was still Russell Wilson, and then it was Geno Smith the last 2 years. So in points, in the first 2 years they ranked top 15, which is pretty good, and this year they ranked 22nd. We saw a lot of injuries to the O line, so that was definitely tough and is definitely going to affect that. They have been towards the end of, so the lower the number, the more they outgain their opponent. So this is teams rank in yardage differential. So teams rank in point differential. The lower the number, the more they outscored their opponents. So, okay, so yeah. So basically, from my understanding, this stat means that you want it to be like a lower number. But for yards, they sorry, I'm getting all flustered. I'm trying to read these stats. No, so for yards, they ranked 20th in 2021, 13th in 2022, and then 21st in 2023. So obviously, you'd want to see more yards of offense there. I think, honestly, 2022 was a really good year to look at. I think they had less O-line issues, and I think O-line plays a really crucial part. Points scored, they have been around 17. So 2022 was obviously their best year, but 16 and 17, I mean, that's close to being in the top half of the league. So only 1 year were they outside of the top half of the league, and that was only this year. And then ranking giveaways. So interception versus fumbles lost, lower is better. So 2 out of the 3 years, they are top 5, which is pretty good. I know maybe last year they gave the ball a little bit more away than they wanted to. Rushing offense, so they're kind of bottom in the league in how often they actually run the ball, but in 2021 and 2022, they are still top 18 in terms of yards. So I guess that means they have a lot of explosive runs. Obviously, this year, their rushing offense was not very good, and neither was their rushing touchdowns this year or last year, but in 2021, they had a good year. But they have ranked top half of the league in yards per attempt all 3 years. 2 of the years being top 7. Passing offense, they have ranked top 10 in 2 of the years. So it really looks like this year was kind of like a down year for the Seattle offense. I mean, you could really put that on a lot of things, but overall, pretty good, especially for a guy who, wasn't expected to be able to be hired. So next, we're going to go to Kerry Joseph, who is the quarterback's coach. So he was a CFL quarterback. I remember from my understanding, he brought a championship to the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and I believe they were kind of one of those franchises who just did not have a ton of championships, and it's a smaller league, so it's kind of not a good thing. But I believe as a Super Bowl, he won their Grey Cup, which is basically their Super Bowl with them. But yeah, so as a coach, he was with the New Orleans Saints, then he was with McNeese State, Tampa Bay, McNeese, Southeastern Louisiana. And then in 2020, so a year before Shane Waldron got to Seattle, he was there as the offensive assistant. Then he was an assistant wide receivers coach, assistant quarterback coach, and then he was hired as a quarterback's coach. So there's a couple ways you can look at this. Okay, so he has worked with Russell Wilson, who in 2021 actually had a really, really good year. He was elected to the Pro Bowl. And then also he was part of the Geno Smith Resurgence Project. Geno was written off as a bust, and honestly, regardless how you feel about him this year, last year, the stats that he put up in this offense was very, very impressive. And I understand he had a lot of weapons, but their O-line was not something crazy. And I think if what the Bears are trying to do is they are kind of leaning, in my opinion at least, towards drafting a rookie QB. And I think they're trying to build a lot of teachers around Caleb and make him feel comfortable and put a lot of people around him that they feel like they can lean on. I don't know. I just didn't get that vibe with the last staff. I didn't feel super confident in them. And obviously, there's a lot of stuff that still needs to play out. But overall, I really like all the hires of everybody on that list I showed at the start. So it's going to be very interesting to see what Kerry Joseph is able to do as the passing game coordinator. Next, we're going to go to Chad Morton. So he's the running back coach now. He was with Seattle since 2014. He was an NFL running back, and he went to school at USC. So I don't know if you want to if that means anything to you, but yeah, so he came from USC. He played for the Saints, the Jets, the Commanders, and the Giants. And then he was with Green Bay as a coaching administrator, special teams assistant up until 2015, where he was the running backs assistant, the running back coach, and then the running game coordinator and the running back coach from 2022 to 2023. So these are all guys so far that have worked with Shane Waldron, which really isn't a surprise. If you're coming into a new place and you trust the people that you worked with in the past and you're kind of get to run a little bit more of your own operation, I would bring my own guys with as well. So the only thing that concerns me a little bit, to be just as unbiased as possible, is when we were looking at these stats, the run game numbers outside of the yards per attempt and fumbles lost are not too enticing. What really gets me here is ranking bottom 20 in touchdowns scored on the ground, and then also, bottom 18, almost bottom of the league this year in rushing offense in yards, which honestly, with the Bears being one of the top rushing teams these last 2 years, doesn't concern me as much, because I think honestly they have a better line. I think with the new offensive coordinator, it should level out. Like I said, not crazy. That is the only thing that concerns me with Chad Morton, but obviously Shane knows him better than I do. Next, we're going to go to the wide receivers coach, Chris Bietti. So he has a long, long, long list as a coach. So he started in 1998 and got his first not head coaching job, first NFL job in 2019 as the Pittsburgh wide receivers coach. And then he went on to be the Los Angeles Chargers wide receivers coach from 21 to 23. So something that is also very interesting here is he was at Maryland from 2016 to 2018 as the wide receivers coach, and in 2017 he was the associate head coach and wide receivers coach. And if you didn't know, DJ Moore, who's the number one receiver on the Chicago Bears, was at Maryland in 2017, and he was a first team All Big Ten receiver there. So honestly, I feel like this is a way to reunite DJ Moore and his wide receivers coach when he was placed on that team. Not that DJ Moore needs any help, but this is a familiar face that DJ Moore can welcome into the building and kind of be excited about. So since Chris Bietti isn't like a head coach, I wasn't able to find like where his like wide receivers really ranked just from his stats, but I was able to pull up Brandon Staley's on Pro Football Reference. And if you go to their passing offense, because he was with them from 21 to 23, if you go to their passing offense, they were third in attempts, second in yards, fifth in touchdowns in 2021. 2022, second in attempts, third in yards, 12th in touchdowns. 2023, third in attempts, 13 in yards, 16th in touchdowns. So I understand you have Justin Herbert. I understand that it is a big, big, big factor when you're looking at these stats. But at the same time, someone has to coach these receivers. We saw this year, Keenan Allen had a resurgence. Mike Williams obviously got injured. But I just think like with the way that those receivers have played over the last couple of years, injuries or not, it has been impressive. And to reunite DJ Moore with his college coach is very enticing. And it just seems like all these guys that are being hired, they have something that is like that sticks out about them. Like they have a year or two that really sticks out about why they hired these guys. And like that's what honestly you should expect from an organization. So let's go to one of the latest hires, and then we will get to the defensive coordinator after we finish up the offense. So Thomas Brown, he has been hired as the passing games coordinator, and this is someone who was getting offensive coordinator looks, and like pass game coordinator is a step down from quarterbacks coach. So like offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach, passing game coordinator. So he took a job here when he could have I don't know if he could have gotten, I don't know what the deal was, but he was at least getting looked at for offensive coordinator, and he was the interim head coach for the I believe he was the interim head. No, he was not the interim head coach for the Panthers after they fired Frank Reich, but he did assume the role. He was an offensive coordinator, but he did assume the role of play calling, I want to say like halfway through the season. So he was a player. He played with the Atlanta Falcons and the Browns. Oh, he was in the NFL for about 2 years. So he went to college at Georgia, started his college career at Georgia, and then he was a running backs coach, got his first opportunity in the NFL as a running backs coach in 2020 for the Rams under McVay. And then he was, in 2022, the assistant head coach and tight ends coach in 2022. And then he got the offensive coordinator position in Carolina to work with Bryce Young. So obviously we have a limited sample size on what he can do as an offensive coordinator, but to the fact that he is part of the passing game coordination and not even the OC tells you a lot. So something that is a theme that we see between all these hires is Thomas Brown, work for the Rams. Shane Waldron, work for the Rams. And then Kerry Joseph did not work for the Rams. But anyway, basically what I'm saying is these guys have ties to McVay. Like there's obviously a theme that the Bears are trying to go with here. They're trying to modernize the offense. And I understand that Getsy's offense wasn't like archaic, but I feel like with all these young minds, like these are young guys, everybody, like the Shane Waldron is 44, Kerry Joseph is 50, Chad Morton's 46, Chris Bietti's 50, Thomas Brown is 37. So you have the whole offensive staff that was newly hired under the 50 and under, which is a huge thing. A huge thing. Obviously, like you see, a lot of these coaches that are getting hired now are really, really young. I think Mike McDonald, who got hired by the Seahawks today as their head coach, I want to say it was like 36. It's a youth movement in the NFL, and it feels like the Bears are finally picking up on the trend. So now, after we go over that offensive side of the ball, we're going to go to defense. Eric Washington. So he has been with the Bills the last couple of years. He's been with the Bills since 2020. He started out as a defensive lines coach, and then he was the senior defensive assistant in 2022, and then he was the assistant head coach last year, along with the defensive line coach. He was also with the Bears in 2008 to 2010, and then he went on to the Panthers before going to the Bills. But he was with them when they won the division, I believe, and I was listening to Corey Wooten speak, and they were asking him kind of what Eric Washington brings, because he was with Corey Wooten at Northwestern and with the Bears, and he just said he's someone who is going to hold you accountable and be really tough and like try to get the best out of you. And obviously, that's generic, but at the same time, like, I think holding people accountable, especially these young players as they develop, is something very important. And he obviously has been effective with the Bills. And yes, I know Sean McDermott is one of the best head coaches in the NFL, and he also has put up like very, very good defenses, because Eric Washington has been with the Bills since 2020, and Sean McDermott has been a head coach of the Bills since 2017. So if we go to 2020 here, their defense was 14th in yards, 16th in points, I believe, third in takeaways for total defense, and their passing defense ranked better than the rushing defense. So when Eric Washington got there, their rushing defense ranked first in yards and first in points. So, but let's go to the advanced defense here. So in 2021, this is when in 2021, no, he got there in 2020. Sorry, my apologies. So we're going to go 2020, and then we're going to go to the team advanced defense. So we're going to focus on the D-line here, because this is where Eric Washington's specialty is. So this is the advanced defense. We're going to look at the hurries. So the QB hurries in 2020, the Bills are kind of, let me find them, towards the bottom of the league. Hurry percentage, kind of in the bottom of the league. Quarterback knockdowns, middle of the league. Sacks, we got where are they? Middle of the league. Pressure rate, middle of the league. Okay, that was his first year there in Buffalo. I guess what we want to see here is progress. And this is the first time I'm looking at these stats. I don't want to be biased looking at this. Okay, now let's go to advanced defense. All right, now we're going to go hurries. Buffalo Bills, second in the league. Hurry percentage, first in the league. Quarterback knockdowns, middle of the league. Quarterback knockdown percentage, about top 10. Sacks, top 11. Pressures, they are fifth, and pressure percentage first. Okay, so we did see improvement the second year. Now let's go to 2022, team advanced defense. Hurries, middle of the league. Hurries, middle of the league. Quarterback knockdown, middle of the league. Quarterback knockdown percentage, middle of the league. Sacks, middle of the league. Pressures, middle of the league. Pressure percentage, middle of the league. Okay. Now we're going to go to 2023. This is the latest year with Eric Washington. Okay. We're going to go hurries. Bottom of the league, bottom third of the league. Hurry percentage, bottom third of the league. Quarterback knockdown, about top 10, top 11. Quarterback knockdown percentage, top 7. Sacks, top 4. Pressures, probably top 12. Pressure percentage, probably about top 10, top 12. So, regardless, the Bears are really focusing on building their O-line, or not O-line, D-line, I'm talking defense, my apologies. And this guy, regardless of if you believe it's McVay or Eric Washington, he has been around the Bills for the last couple of years, and they've obviously kept him around and moved him up certain positions, obviously because they trust him and he's respected in that locker room. So my thing is, the Bills have been more in the top 10, top half of the league than they have at the bottom when it comes to their defensive line and sacks and pressure rate. And my thing is, with the Bears already ascending in that category, I think adding a guy like this under a defensive minded head coach and to have him be your DC where you can really focus on the rush, because we saw the Bears secondary. It's pretty good. If they can really build that rush, like we got Montez Sweat, Gervon Dexter, you got DeMarcus Walker, you can add another edge in free agency and into your guy in free agency, or if you want to do that through the draft. The Bears are really building something special here. And regardless of how you feel the direction is going, whether they're going to sign a rookie quarterback or draft a rookie quarterback or run it with Fields, this staff is inspiring. And it really feels like, because the Matt Eberflus decision was so, I feel like, unpopular with a lot of the fans, bringing in all these guys, like, I honestly feel like they didn't miss with any of these hires. Like, I feel like they did a great job assembling a staff going into next year where it's like, okay, let's address our deficiencies, right? We know where we struggle on defense, which has been getting pressure on the quarterback. It improved greatly in the second half of the season once you got Montez Sweat, but it can always be better, which also hurt the secondary. And the offense, outside of rushing, was just a mess. But in my opinion, it was not nearly as explosive as it was the previous year. So you get a guy who, you get a modern offensive mind who has worked under McVay, you get a new receivers coach, you get all these young guys in the room. And if they're going to be drafting a rookie quarterback, I feel like all these people are just going to be safety blankets for that rookie quarterback, whether it's Caleb, Drake May, Jaden Daniels. Regardless, I think the Bears have done an impeccable job hiring this staff. I think it is night and day from the first time around when they first hired Eberflus and Getsy. So I really like what they're building here. Let me know in the comments what you think kind of all these coaches. Let me know who your favorite hire is. And don't forget, if you want to know ball, be sure to subscribe, leave a like I said, leave a comment, let me know what your favorite hire is. Thank you guys for watching. We'll be back.